السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى أصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. I welcome you all back with this Hadith my series on being as Islam a Sharif Institute. So before we go into the live inshallah into Sheikh Salem Taweel Hafidhahullah's basically series of Hadith as before continue, as you guys have noticed that the title of the name of the channel has been changed from being Islamic official to a Sharif Institute. Now, of course, this institute has been my basically ongoing project for more than a year. And of course, couple of Ikhwa Allah Mubarak have joined us, and like basically as students and so on and so forth have benefited. So, inshallah, keeping that in mind, I thought, why not I basically change, basically make it more public and turn it into a basically like uh, like change the name of the YouTube channel itself and name it to the name of the institute. So inshallah, with that being said, from now onwards, this would be a Sharif Institute. Of course, there are many better institutes out there, better than, but here, based on my humble ability, I try my best to translate and share authentic content on the manhaj of Islam. So with that being said, let's start.
حدث معي كنت ذات ليلة متوجه للدرس في منطقة صباح الناصر عند الجسر، جسر صباح الناصر صليبية. وقفت على الإشارة الحمراء، ففي واحد بجانب سيارة أخرى أشر عليه
So basically, Sheikh Salem went like in Kuwait, in one of like well-known basically localities in Kuwait. Now Sheikh Salem has mentioned Sabahia, and that there is a bridge. So near that bridge, he stopped at the signal. So there, another man basically came beside him with a car, and he uh, pointed out like. So let's see what that man said.
تحت له. نعم، السلام عليكم. السلام، حياك الله. قال أنت فلان؟ قلت له نعم. حياك الله يا أخي، سامحني، أنا ما زحت. قلت أسامحك على شنو؟ قال لي كنت قايل فيني شيء. أنا سامح كل المسلمين إلا الرافضي والمبتدع. المبتدع ما سامحه، المبتدع ما سامحه، اللي معروفين تكفيريين هذول ما سامحه.
So basically, Sheikh Salem Hafidhahullah, this guy who basically Sheikh Salem Assalamu alaikum, the Sheikh Salem Taweel said to him, wa alaikum assalam. So then like this person that asks Sheikh Salem Taweel, are you so and so, like makes the sign beside the Taweel. So then this person told me, Samihni, like basically, please forgive me. So now Sheikh Salem Taweel was like, I'm meeting you first time, I don't know at all, and then for what are you asking forgiveness for? Like, what's the issue? And of course, Sheikh Salem Taweel then says that I basically forgive every Muslim who has said anything about me except two type of people, the Rafida and the Mubtadi'a. This, the innovator and the Rafida.
أما المسلمين المغربين يسبوني كذا مسامح كلهم.
So basically, like the general Muslims who Gharabihim, they don't think better, they just fall victims of like the Sheikh. And they slandered him, then he, Hafidullah, forgives all of them always, whether it is now, before, or after.
وفي فئة أخرى ثانية ما أسامحهم، الخونة اللي يضربني من خلفي يخون، فإن الله يقول إن الله يحب الخائنين، هذا أيضا ما أسامحه. أما بقية المسلمين المساكين يغرر بهم ويقولون عني كلام ويسبني، لا مسامحهم كلهم، حتى لو ما اعتذروا، حتى لو ما تأسفوا، الله يسامحهم.
So basically, again, another type of people who doesn't basically forgive are the ones who are kha'ini. Because as Allah said in the Qur'an, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْخَائِنِينَ. That Allah doesn't love the one who who are the betrayers. He could stab behind your back. So of course, now there have been some betrayers out there again who have betrayed the Shaykh Allah, who stabbed him like behind his back, like showing him, basically meeting with him as if they are his friends or something, and then behind him they would slander him, they would backbite him. So other than that, general Muslims, again, he reiterated the same thing, Hafidhullah, that he forgives them.
المهم نرجع. هذا الاخ قال لي فلان، قلت له نعم. قال سامحني. قلت سامحك عليه؟ لكم تتكلم فيني انا مازحه. قال لي والله تكلم. قلت ايش قايل؟ قال قلت انك حكومي. قلت انا حكومي ما زلت. على ايش تتاسف؟ من قال كان مو حكومي؟ قلت له لولا الله ثم الحكومه ما وقفنا عند الشارع. شو موقفنا الا عشان في حكومه.
So Sheikh Salem, Hafidhullah, basically continuing the conversation with that guy. Sheikh said that it basically like that when this person says Samihni, may Allah forgive, please forgive me. So like Sheikh Salam said, what is there for you for like why should I forgive you? Have you said anything about me? Like basically in a fun, like in a joyful manner, Sheikh Salam said that. So this guy said, yes, I have said about you that you are a hukum. You are basically like pro-government. So Sheikh Salem said, yes, I'm still pro-government till now. If it would have been Allah, then the government, we would have not been standing on the signal. Then, of course, Sheikh Salem continues mentioning about why he's pro-hukumi and why everyone should be pro.
من يسوي الشوارع؟ من يسوي المدارس؟ من يعطي رواتب؟ من يسوي الوزارات؟ من يسوي الحدود؟ من يسوي البصمات؟ من يسوي المخافر، الشرطة، الجيش، البلدية، الشؤون، الكهرباء، الماء؟ هاي انا حكومي. والصوت والصورة انا حكومي. لا مو بس انا حكومي. والدي رحمة الله عليهم حكوميون ايضا. عمامي 5 وابوي سادسهم كلهم حكوميين.
So Sheikh Salem proceeds to mention why he's pro-hukumi. Like, why he's pro-government, because the government has done a lot, basically, like whether it is the municipality, military, whether it is economy, whether it is security, traffic, law, uh, water, electricity, who is safeguarding the borders, and so on and so forth. So, and of course, not only I'm a pro government. Sheikh Salman was saying about this. My parents, rahimahumullah, they are also pro-government. My 5 uncles, they are also pro-government. All of my family are pro-government.
اخواني، خواتي، عيالي كلهم الحكومة. تصدقون درست بالحكومة، تخرجت من الحكومة، توظفت في الحكومة، تقاعدت في الحكومة، بيت حكومة في الحكومة، مستصف حكومي، مستشفى حكومي، شارع حكومي، تمويل حكومي. ايش الكلام هذا حكومي؟
So Sheikh Salman then mentions basically about himself that he studied in a government school. He graduated from a government college, and then he got a government job. He has a government house, and he has like basically everything is like basically every subsidy has been given uh, to by the government to not only him specifically, Hafidhullah, every Kuwait. Of course, I believe like the brothers who don't understand this are those brothers who come from uh, less fortunate like basically places in the world. I won't basically not to like want to use like very blunt words. I don't want to use that. So because mostly right, what we have to understand is that Allah Gulf, right? The safety and the security which Allah has given them, right? Of course, first and foremost, Allah is the one who is preserving them and basically keeping them stable and so on and so forth. Second is them having the concept of sama'i wa ta'a. That's very important to understand. That they have the concept of like basically giving bay'ah to their rulers. So Allah stands sadly, even some other Muslim countries out there in the world, sadly due to them not having this concept of Sami'a wa Ta'a and this stupid democratic drama which people have, right? Whether it is other Muslim countries or otherwise, and out there in the world, you see what the chaos which you see all this. So whether it is in the recent history or whether it is like in the long history of this human civilization since this stupid democracy thing started. Because before that, when there were monarchies, empires, so on and so forth, of course, no doubt there were battles, there were wars, surely. But there was not this much like chaos and instability in the world. Yes, sir, before. Of course, no doubt we agree that those times people uh, didn't have that much right to say as it is today, no doubt. But of course, today, based on that right which people have, right, like basically due to this YouTube and whatnot, the world has been democratized. And of course, in Islam, Islam is the exact opposite of democracy. Of course, what I'm saying is because of that, you will find a lot of fitan happening. And of course, Sheikh Salem Taweel mentions it time to time. So sorry for my long commentary. Let's continue.
احنا لولا الله ثم الحكومة ضعنا. أي بلد ما فيه حكومة تعال وش يصير فيها. فهذه حكومة نعمة من الله عز وجل، عندنا حكومة وعندنا ولة أمر والبلد محكومة. لكن هؤلاء أكثر هؤلاء يقول حكومي حكومي، هو نفسه تجد حرامي كبير، يختلس، يسرق حتى أموال تبرعات. تجد بعضهم الله يبلغ حتى يصير وزير وعضو مجلس أمة ووكيل ومش عارف ايش ودكاترة ورواتب ومعاشات ووظيفة وظيفتين، ومع ذلك يتكلم على غير يقول حكومة حكومة.
And of course, now the most craziest irony of all ironies, as a long stand you will find, is that like turn this something like they have turned like someone being pro-government as if it is aib or something along. So like basically here when this guy basically said to Sheikh Salem Mutawil Hafidhullah that forgive me by me that I have told about you that you're pro-government. Sheikh Salem Mutawil, of course, when he after mentioning why he's pro-government and so forth, he then of course mentioned that if it would have been not for Allah and then the government, we would have been lost. And of course, any country out there where there's no government, there is no political stability, there's no stable government, you'll find chaos over there. Obviously. And of course, Sheikh Salem Hafidhullah that proceeds to say is that these people who accuse, who turn this into an accusation or some as if it is act or something, they themselves you will find them to be big haram. You'll find them to be a big deceivers. Listen, huge deceivers. Like you'll find them acquiring all the positions which are in the state, whether some of them become ministers, wakil, wizar, like basically all of the positions, big positions, whether it is the like uh, yeah, ministerial positions, official positions, or whether it is the secretary positions and so on and so forth. All of those positions are like basically occupied by these people, and they themselves basically occupy that, and then operate as per their Murshid al-Ala or and their Murshid al-Am. And of course, as Sheikh Salman has mentioned about that various times, that they work like octopus.
مع العلم أن أنا واحد من الناس يعني استفدت من الحكومة كما استفيد الآخر. يعني وظيفة عادية، ما صرت حتى مدرس أول، ما رشحت نفسي ولا حتى عندي رقم في جمعية تعاونية يسمونها صندوق ما عندي. لكن مع ذاك أنا حكومة، أنا بالله عز وجل ثم بالحكومة، لا أبوي رباني على هذا. فموضوع حكومي هذا قصدهم ايش؟ تشويه السمعة فقط.
Basically, Sheikh Salman says again in short, as Allah Musta'an, like this, Sheikh Salman Hafidhullah, is that he didn't become Mudarris al-Awwal. Now, of course, somebody could say, what's Mudarris al-Awwal? Like basically, Mudarris al-Awwal is like basically a little bit senior position in terms of teaching. That's so that Sheikh Salam Tawil remained a normal teacher in his entire life. This type of that's he didn't become Mudarris al-Awwal, which is like basically like a head of department more or less. That's, so basically, Sheikh Salam Tawil then of course after that, even though I didn't acquire that like, senior position still. I, I have benefited from the like government like anybody else. And of course, every Kuwaiti gets all of this basically. Basic. This is very basic. Basically, that the government provides you job, provides you housing, provides you everything just because it. And of course, when after retirement also, basically I'm like living on pension. That's so basically Sheikh Salem Taweel Hafidhullah then says that these people have turned this, the youth have used this only to like basically character assassination. That's to do character assassination. خلاص.
فأنا أعيد وأكرر، لكن اسمعوا هذا الموقف العجيب اللي ينفعكم الله به. أحد الأخوة اسمه فيصل يقول جاء أحد الأخوة من السعودية ومعه واحد لابس شماغ وشعره طويل، حسبالي سعودي، طلع ليبي.
So basically, now the point being is that like related to there is another story which I would like to basically mention. Sheikh Salem Taweel Hafidhullah says that there is one brother named Faisal. And with him came another brother who basically was wearing tob, shimag, everything, and his like he had long hair. So I thought him to be Saudi, but he turned out to be Libyan. Yeah, Libyan. So
فيقول سألوا عني، وصلوا إلي، يقول قالوا لي احنا نريد أن نلتقي بالشيخ فلان، ما نذكر اسمه، الشيخ فلان يعني وفد إلى الكويت. المهم ايش تبون فيه؟ قال لنا نستشيره في أمر. هذا السعودي مع الليبي. قلت طيب أذهب بكم إليه. قل ذهبنا إليه في جمعية نفع عام من الجمعيات الخيرية، وعنده مكتب وعنده سكرتارية وعنده يعني رازين الجمعية.
so basically Sheikh Hafidhullah himself that like basically this Faisal guy who's a Saudi and this another brother, Libyan brother, both of them, they basically came to me asking about like where would we be able to meet this Sheikh, this so and so Sheikh who we would be meeting. And of course, now that so and so Sheikh, now the only hint Sheikh Salem Tawil has given about him that he is like one of those who basically who came to Kuwait as an expert. So basically, then Sheikh Salem Tawil, of course, basically, like, basically because he was aware about the address of that, where was it exactly. He basically mentioned to them so that both of them they go and visit. And of course now back in those days, this basically Sheikh Salman Tawil himself also was just observing this big quote unquote sheikh that's back in those days. So let's continue.
يقول لما دخلنا عليه قلنا الأخوة، سلمنا عليه، الأخوة الأخ ليبي عنده موضوع ودي يتكلم معاك وطلب إني أوصله إليك. قال طيب، استأذن السكرتير، عنده سكرتير، راح السكرتير، يقول جلسنا، يقول فسحب فيش الهاتف الثابت يسموه الأرضي. قال له في بعض التكنولوجيا أن هذا حتى الهاتف وهو مغلق يسمع الأخبار، يعني عندهم شيء، يعني خايف من اللي ما عنده شيء ليش يخاف. طيب سحب الفيش وجلسنا. قال نعم. قال الليبي احنا الآن صرنا مجموعة، رتبنا أنفسنا وعندنا السلاح ومنظمين أنفسنا لنخرج على القذافي. يقول قال لهم الشيخ عدل جلسته، قال لا 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 غلط هذا، انتم غدا خرجتوا على القذافي، عددكم مئات، عندكم سلاح، طاردكم، ذهبتوا للجبال، قتلكم، انتهت دعوتكم. قالها مثل جيمان، عنده كم واحد دخل الحرم قتلوه كم يوم. لا مو هكذا. كيف؟ قال ادخلوا في مفاصل الدولة.
Now, of course, basically, the one when I mentioned the translation, there was a little mistake from Mr. Allah. Basically, these two guys who came to Sheikh Salman Tawil, they actually visited this so well-known Sheikh. So when they visited this quote-unquote Sheikh, he basically has an office, and along before his office there is the secretary's room from which you take an appointment from that secretary to meet this sheikh. So then both of these two people took appointment and went inside, and then basically this quote unquote sheikh told the secretary to go out, basically go back to your place. Then of course after that, of course back in those days there used to be a landline, Hadith Thabit. That's it. So as it's all so and so sheikh, what did he do? He basically cut off he basically removed the cable so that no voice is passed, because of course back in those days through the landline phones, right? If you let us say person A and person B are talking both on landline. So person C, who is in that basically one of let's just say person A and person B, he also has another landline. This so the boy from that another landline without dialing, you could hear the conversation of this conversation of these two people. This. And of course, you could understand the brothers who are my seniors in age. They could understand what I'm saying. So, who were young in their 19s and so on and so forth, like my parents, they could understand which type of how it worked. So basically, in short, you understand what happened is this sheikh removed the cable, and then this leading guy, he said that we have prepared ourselves, we have the weapons and so on and so forth to go against. And of course, this basically was before the quote unquote Arab Spring. So once this quote unquote sheikh heard, basically uh, heard, once this guy said that we will go out, so this sheikh told, you are, you are doing the old thing, like the Joheman, when they all of them they basically would do guerrilla warfare. Of course, now guerrilla warfare is basically not the gorilla, the animal. Basically, it has another spelling, rather guerrilla warfare. Warfare. So basically, that you attack and then you hide in the mountains, and of course, he would search each and every one of you out and kill you at some point. So go against him in this. Instead, what you should do is that you go that you go to the state machinery. So basically, this sheikh, quote unquote sheikh, right, the way he basically did the tarbiyah of his associates and his students is that he trained them to go into the state machinery of Kuwait specifically. So that's what Sheikh Salem was saying.
هذول يقولوا عني حكومي، هم شو يسوون؟ هم داخلين في الحكومة. هذا شوف شيخهم يقول لهم ادخلوا في المفاصل، صوروا وزراء، صوروا وكلاء، صوروا ضباط، قضاة، شيئا فشيئا فشيئا، بعدين اخذوا الحكم من القذافي.
So basically, then this quote unquote sheikh, what he said that as you basically slowly enter into the state machinery, become ministers, become soldiers, become secretaries, become so occupy these positions slowly, and then when the right time comes, take seize the hukum or seize the governance from Gaddafi. Bombs.
هذا اللي يقول حكومي حكومي، هم أنفسهم عندهم هذه الفكرة، ولذلك اللي ما عنده فكرتهم ولا يفكر يخرج على الحاكم ويتغلغل ويقوم عليه يسمونه حكومي حتى ينفرون الناس منه، وهم أكبر حكوميين وهم الخونة.
That's the most irony of all ironies, Allah is that these same people who basically accuse or basically turn this hukumi thing as an accusation or something as aib, so that the people could so that the people are deterred away from someone like him, Hafidullah, who doesn't call for khuruj, who doesn't call for going to state machinery and slowly occupying the governance in such a way. they basically accused Sheikh Salem. They turned that into an accusation, right? Or لبس التهمة. Listen, لبس التهمة. Listen, that's how it's called in Arabic. So after that, they themselves are the biggest hukumi. They are the most basically entered into like the government, and they themselves are the biggest betrayers. Like while they, because they entered into this state machinery only to betray the state. Astaghfirullah. And of course, Islam is against that 100%, especially if it is a Muslim country. Because in the Quran also, right, Yusuf alayhi salam, right, ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله. Listen, that Yusuf alayhi salam could have basically misused the law, uh, uh, basically have misused the law in order to take his younger brother, but he basically, like, instead of misusing it, he used it in the correct. He used it in the correct way. Yes. So basically, even in a non-Muslim country, also, let's just say you are in like a position where it is halal. That is your own job. Primary job is halal, right? It's not allowed for you that you betray the government. That's against Islam. But you will find such big, basically betrayers among these people who accuse Sheikh Salem Taweel, and of course the ones upon the way of the Salaf to be from government and agents and whatnot. And of course, number one among them, Mr. Dajjal حقيقة اسمه.
هم في الحكومة مناصب، دكاترة، أموال، بعضهم حتى وزير، بعضهم وكيل، بعضهم مدير، بعضهم قاضي، بعضهم ضباط، وهذا تخطيطهم أن امسك حتى نسيطر على مفاصل الدولة ثم ننقلب على الحاكم. ليس بالطريقة تلك البدائية، طريقة الجهيمان وطريقة تروح الجبال وترمي يرمونك، لا، ادخل في مفاصل الدولة. عشان تعرفون هؤلاء خونة، ومنهم من يفد إلى بلدنا وهو ليس من أهل البلد، يفد إليها ويفسد شباب البلد ويفعلوا كذا وكذا وكذا حتى إيش؟ نتمكن. يعني فكر خوارج.
In short, Sheikh Salem Tawil says that this is the fikr of Khawarij. Of course, now he reiterated the same things which he has mentioned before, and then he, Hafidullah, said that all of this you would find basically someone who comes from out of the country, who's not basically a Kuwaiti, or who is not basically from the country. He would come and he would destroy the minds of the youth, right? And slowly, basically create such a chaotic environment, and then uh, basically mentally uh, turn them into like a basically, what do you say, mental khawarij. Because of course now the youth for the most part, they, since most of them are ignorant, and of course as the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is there, right? حدثاء الأسنان سفهاء الأحلام. Based on the hadith, that the ones, most of the Khawarij are youth, young in age. سفهاء الأحلام. They have very big dreams, basically. They think big about themselves. And of course, Sheikh Albani's Rahimahullah qawl also comes to my mind about this, right? He, Rahimahullah, says the following, uh, that is the biggest musiba or afa of the today's Muslim youth. And of course, Sheikh Albani is saying about like this back in the 90s. That just because the Muslim youth back in those days, that is, they would know something, some little bit of Sharia, something little bit of Islam, they would think أنه قد أحاطوا بكل شيء, that they would start to think that they have encompassed the entire knowledge about Islam. So that's a very dangerous.
لذلك ما أقوله الآن مما يسمى من سلسلة حدث معي ليست سوالف وحكايات، وإنما حتى نأخذ العبر، وأسأل الله عز وجل أن نكون متنبهين معتبرين بما حدث. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى صحبه أجمعين.
So, concluding on this note, is basically Sheikh Salem mentions that this Hadathama series, which we are basically doing, it is not about stories, question and answers. It is all about taking lessons from these stories. That see how this basically the matters which we see today, how it progressed so slowly. This is it, and how we stop these matters there and then. So, of course, with that being said, I have commented a lot this time, but basically, even though Sheikh Salem Taweel has basically mentioned it in a much beautiful way than I could have ever, but of course, I only commented so that my brothers could understand better. Because one of the closest students of the Sheikh Hafidahullah, I reached out to him regarding this. Like I've been doing this, so like what to do, what are your suggestions? So the student, I don't want to name him because he hasn't basically allowed me to name himself. So basically, Hafidahullah, student of Sheikh Salman Tawil, he told me that let the Sheikh talk longer. So I'm trying my best to let the Sheikh to talk longer so that basically I'm able and then still be able to translate better because letting the sheikh talk longer, right, would take me basically more longer for me to process the information from the sheikh and translate it to you guys. But I'll try my best. So with that being said, we'll conclude here for سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.